diagnosis, they tell you have this one. But from my understanding, there's no thousands of different diabetes. They'll classify you, you're this one, or this one. I'm not saying that it's not important, but what I'm saying is very few, areas where like, okay, diabetes type 1 or type 2, I don't even know how to classify them. But all I'm saying is they're classifying PTSD as a general issue that everybody that has depression and anxiety, and everybody put them in the same box of PTSD. And PTSD, like it says, is post-traumatic stress disorder. So you're going to continue with the disorders after the traumas.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all it is. And the problem that we face today is the lack of study and the lack of proper treatment for PTSD. And they treat it as a one and a whole. And PTSD, like it says, post-trauma. So in my post-trauma, I'm suffering PTSD from my post-traumas.
Mm-hmm.
So the traumas that I had in my life, they were very unfortunate. And actually, I suffered PTSD originally from being sexually abused when I was 5 years old. And from that moment on, the series of events happened, and I got sexually molested again three more times. 2 females, 2 males, from the time I was 5 years old to when I was 10 was the last. So the episodes, the traumas kept piling up.
Yeah.
And they were not addressed correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go there in a minute, but I want to keep going on why PTSD is so important that we speak about. And that we urge not only the people to research, but the hospitals, doctors. I was admitted in supposedly one of the best behavioral mental institutions in the whole of the United States, which is El Camino Hospital right here.
And when was that?
And that was December of last year.
Okay.
But the first time I was admitted, the first time I had a what they call psychosis episode, happened to me in right about January of 2017. But I'll talk in more detail about all my experiences, because I've been in the hospital. I've been put in a mental institution twice with little or no effect on the health. As a matter of fact, I was damaged way more on those 2 experiences. And I'm not angry with them. I'm not mad, because at the end of the day in my journey, I'm understanding that there are some people that genuinely are trying to do their best that just don't know how. And they have a lot of people behind them or on top of them telling them, no, that's not the way we want to treat them. This is the norm. And they're not allowing, some doctors to actually go more profound in this topic, which is PTSD. Like I said earlier, so there's only a few types, of certain illness. They classify them on certain, cancers, all these types.
Yeah.
PTSD, again, post-trauma. So after a trauma, you suffer consequences of not treating that trauma properly. And that goes down that we are spirit, soul, and body. And each of our elements needs proper healing. And that's where people are not understanding, and they're trying to heal one aspect of us. But again, I'm already drifting to other things that I would love to talk, but I want to stress out the point that PTSD is not one illness for all or one treatment for all. There's millions of people on this planet. There's millions of experiences that they're going through, millions of different type of traumas.
So there's no cookie cutter.
Exactly. And there's different combinations of traumas. Like in my personal experience, the first time I ever remember I experienced fear, I was introduced to fear, was through that man that molested me when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
I remember very vivid the experience, how he grabbed me violently and did what he did, threw me across the room. And I remember now going through all the motions of what he was doing, and me going like, what happened? What's going on?
Yeah.
They threw me across the room. I remember getting up and facing him, and I remember seeing his face. He was intoxicated probably. And I remember all that experience very vivid, and that's when I was introduced to fear. Because I don't remember that's the first memory of fear that I have a recollection of, which, by the way, I suppressed it for many years. But again, that's another topic. I would love to continue on the PTSD. So you have a trauma that trauma was never taken care of correctly in my life, in my spirit or in my soul, or my body. But the lack of understanding of my parents and my family members on how to treat each of those areas, or the stigma of society. Like if you tell society, hey, I'm going to take my kid with a healer, with a shaman, right away, immediately, they start saying that you're against God, or you're against Christianity, or you're against the faith. And it's totally incorrect. The healers, they being sick people, ill people, that they found how to heal themselves.
Gotcha.
And they're not telling you how to heal yourself. I mean, they're not telling you how to heal yourself. They're telling you could heal yourself. And they just inspire you how to heal yourself. And of course, they're the ones that communicate between us and Mother Earth. Mother Earth tells them what to give us.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just giving an example how part of our treatment has to be with the help of our ancestors and the natural medicine of Mother Earth. Then it comes the other aspect of the physical aspect of my body. They went through that trauma. I didn't have the proper therapy. I didn't have like one of the best therapies, and my therapist that due to the video, thanks to that video that I posted on Facebook, my high school friend, it happens to be a psychologist. He specializes in psychoanalysis, and he has a master's degree in counseling from Penn State.
Nice.
So he contacted me and he says, I can help you. And I said, thank you. I was really desperate. I was really, 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 really desperate. And he specializes in the type of therapy that I had researched while I was in mental institutions, which is not very welcome within the medical community. This lady, doctor, and excuse me, I don't remember, which eventually, if you invite me again, I'll have more information on her. She came up with cognitive behavioral therapy in the 80s. And she had a lot of resistance, a lot of resistance. That is actually the correct, well, for me, was one of the missing links in my treatment, because like I said, post-trauma stress disorder. So I have disorders of my traumas that are never taken care of correctly. And like I said,
the root problem.
So I was not taken care of. I was not allowed to be taken to the healers of my land, of my people, my ancestors. Then there comes the religious dogma in Mexico City. You're born into a religion. You're not given a choice or an option to explore. You're born into something and you're forced into that. So that causes people to close their minds to any other type of help. They just want to close their minds to a religious dogma, which dogma means a particular set of rules that cannot be disputed or contested. Just it is what it is, and if you don't abide by this, then you are the outsider. And that's one of the root problems of them and us. Them against us. So all of that, but anyway, again, that's another thing that I want to put. All of that causes that people starts believing in things, in dogmas, belief systems, that now you adopt that belief system, and the only ones that are affected by those decisions that people are telling you what to do or how to do it is you and your family. So then I was raised in a very violent environment. My dad was a very violent human being. He grew up 10 times worse than the situations that I went through. And he had a really, really, really horrible childhood. So he obviously manifested it when he was an adult, and he was very abusive physically. So that traumas keep piling up. Why I'm saying this is because there could be someone out there that says, well, I was diagnosed with PTSD and I can handle it with no problem. You know, I only do this and I only do that. Or you should. Or you shouldn't be even I've been told a couple of times that, you know, you shouldn't even be using that term if you didn't serve. You know, and it's just a lot of different, you know, stigmas behind the proper treatment. So
Because mostly when you hear PTSD, it's soldiers coming.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And actually PTSD, like it says, post-traumatic, post-trauma stress disorder,
Yeah.
any type of trauma. So like I said, so in my life, it was not one trauma that it caused the PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
It was a trauma after another trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So just being sexually assaulted was 4 times. Then being physically, you know, abused with
Mhm.
violence was blended a lot of times. So they kept piling and piling and piling and piling. So what did I do as a human being on this planet with no proper guidance on my spirit, soul, and body? What did I do with all those things that happened to me? Well, I created a little box
Mm-hmm.
of put all these stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk about it, you know. I grew up in Mexico City in very machismo environment. So if you talk about being sexually abused when you're a kid, they automatically start putting you labels, you know, ignorantly, and they start accusing you, or like if it's something bad, they start saying you're a homosexual or you're
Mhm.
gay because you got molested. Like if it was anything wrong on that, you know, like there's nothing
Or
wrong
if you
with
had
that.
a choice in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like I picked my hand and I said, choose me to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
I was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The second time that happened that to me, I was like 6 years old. Then the third time I was like 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last time I was like about 10. I didn't have no say. So for people to put their labels and their opinions, and they bring their religion in a dogmatic, you know, way, you know, in a Jesus Christ-like, you know,
Mhm.
Christ consciousness, like, you know, there's just they're following the people that speak about Him instead of following Him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
instead of following His steps.
Following the religion.
They're
instead of
telling
faith.
they're following the people that give them their opinion about Christ
Mm-hmm.
instead of them following Christ.
Mm.
So they tell you all kinds of things, you know, from I've been told right now, since I had all these things, well, let me continue on explaining my PTSD.
Okay.
So it continued adding and adding and adding. I witnessed my father die a very horrible death when I was 12. He drank himself to death practically. And I was in the room when I was 12 when he had his last moments in his, you know, in his life. He spewed blood, and that was took a last breath. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that triggered all kinds of things on me. You know, like I'm also a very mystic person since a kid. That's another thing that we can, you know, I can talk about it. So some of these experiences have what the doctors said I had a psychosis state. My psychologist, which is a very, very enlightened psychologist, he actually told me you didn't have no psychosis any of those 2 times. He's like, and unfortunately, when they put labels like that in people, it becomes the stigma and the opinion behind that label, you know.
Okay.
So, he had a psychosis episode, so he's crazy. Watch out, stay away from him. You know, everybody's flags is starting to come alert. Well, he must be messed up and danger, danger, danger. You know, and it's just there are things that you can't control. You know, it's just they keep happening during my childhood. They keep piling up, never be resolved. So like I was saying in that little box earlier, I just got to a point in my life after my dad died, I remember that day, the realization of that day is like, I'm on my own. And I don't want to sound petty or I don't want to sound ridiculous, but technically, since I was 12, I've been on my own. I came to the States in 1995, $40 in my pocket and a suitcase of clothes. And that here I met my wife, had my children, but I left Mexico because of all the young result things. So I created a box, started to put in all the stuff that I couldn't fix. I didn't know how. So I put it in my box and forget about it. Forget. I lived my late teens very aggressive. I got in a lot of fights in Mexico. All my 20s, I drowned in myself. Well, my early 20s, I drowned in myself in the religion. In the Christian church, in particularly, I study a lot of to be a minister and to be a pastor, co-pastor. I study the scriptures. I know how to structure a preaching, how to preach. I study all that because I was looking and searching. So all my 20s, I got hold of the part of me that had built up on that religion, on religion, get hold of Christ. And I thought everything was fine. But remember, I still have my box here closed, where instead of take out and fix them, it kept just
it just kept feeding in.
As the years go, now you're an adult, now you're a father, now you're a husband, now you have to supply. So all these other things that I can't take anything from here because now I have all these responsibilities.
Yeah,
you keep putting them. You keep putting them. I was very successful in real estate. My first year as a rookie, I made about $115,000. I'm talking about 2002. That was my first year full-time in real estate. So from there, I was very successful in my 20s.
Yeah.
Then it came my 30s, and I think these stocks starting to grow and no more just on the side, but now starting to be heavy in the top of me.
You can't drag that with
starting to like, oh man, I can't move. But I was in my 30s, I was strong, I was young, got into the gym, I got hiking, I was like, okay, this is it, I thought I was still okay, but I had what they call psychosis episodes in the past too, but very, very, very small ones. I didn't know what happened, and I had no understanding. I just thought I went to the hospital for exhaustion, stress, depression, but I didn't know I had PTSD. So there goes my 30s, and keep adding. I moved to California 3 years ago. Something happened to me here. Something happened. When I moved to California, something really beautiful and something really like I can't explain. Where I go back to what I said. My psychologist told me you didn't have no psychosis episodes. You had an awakening episodes.
Yeah.
So he's like, it's just an awakening episodes, and just putting a different label on what's going on with you, it feels a lot different. So finally, about January 2000, about October, November, right about this time in 2016, I started to feel really depressed.
Okay.
All 2016, I was able to still perform, still work, made a ton of money that year for my first year here in Denver. I made plenty of money. Like, yeah, this is it. But I was drowned in depression, and I was drowned in cannabis, THC. I didn't know any other way out, so I drowned myself in cannabis till 2016.
Was that medicinal or self-medication?
Medicinal. I went and got my license.
Okay, yeah.
But there's no studies on how to proper use the medicine properly, so you can take advantage of it. So about November of that year, about November of 2000. No, about in January of 2017. It's when I went into a state where I I didn't eat or sleep for about 3 days, probably a little
Wow.
bit over 3 days. And I had experiences in the supernatural. I was, in the inside, I was having experiences. I was experiencing a lot of things of the supernatural, and I was not scared. As a matter of fact, I was having the most beautiful experience ever. But in the outside, it was manifesting out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So my body and everybody, and at that point, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know I was going through an awakening experience. I didn't know I was going through. All I thought it was like, I'm all messed up, but this feels good.
Mm.
In the inside, I was having an experience where I can probably talk about it in detail another time, just about that one. But anyway, I ended up at the hospital. The hospital, protocol of somebody that goes out of control, cut you down the beds, and all of that is really traumatic when all you have is traumas in your life. Because I'm not a dangerous person.
No. I've held the bag for you when you were punching.
I have, but I have a perfect record. I'm not a violent person, And they had me tie me down. They didn't know me, and that hurt me more, And finally, they were like, well, they blame everything in the marijuana.
Really?
The doctors, my whole entire circle, everybody that was watching from the outside, oh, he's a marijuana. He's a drug addict. That's the problem. Get that drug addict away from the weed. And all of that hurt really bad, and the doctors, I was like, so what did I have? They wouldn't tell me anything. They would just ask me a series of questions that, for somebody that doesn't have an actual psychosis episodes, are more hurtful because they keep asking you things that you already answered no 100 times, and they keep asking about it.
Can you give me an example? Or?
Yeah, I know standard, and they're a little, paranoid, I guess, and they ask you if you want to hurt someone or yourself about 150,000 times.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to care about anything else, because I wanted to start talking to the doctors, and it seemed to me that I was wasting their time. Like, they were like, I have more people, like, take this and go. Like, the only people that I had a good experience in there is with the nurses. The nurses were the most amazing individuals there ever, and I thank them. If anybody of them at Kaiser, or El Camino Hospital, the nurses watch this, or I love you. You were awesome. They were awesome. Some of them would put little religious booklet there so I could read it. They were awesome. Not quite the doctors. The doctors, you were a number to them. You were a case to them, and I didn't have no one good conversation with any of the doctors in those hospitals. And I'm not blasting them. It's just I saw a lot of kind of good intentions, but nothing solid. They have material on the walls. They don't have no proper counselors to go and find out what's going on with you. They want to treat everybody the same. There's the unit where you're all messed up. There's the unit where you're not that messed up, and you can be around everybody. And it's just not a proper, care. But anyway, so I was diagnosed that I went through a psychosis. It was not quite so. I had an awakening experience. So from that moment is when I said, this is it, man, I got to find out. So I started in this journey on figuring the heck out what PTSD was, which, by the way, I was not diagnosed the first time of PTSD. So I started in this journey, I stopped smoking weed and cannabis for a while because I thought, yes, it's true, everybody is saying that that's what put me in the psychosis state. So I went months and months and months without it. It was worse. The depression, the anxiety got worse because now I didn't have no medicine to help me to cope with it.
Oh, okay.
So, it went really bad that year. Financially, in my family, I went into this series of panic attacks in that daily basis. And sometimes from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, I'm still getting them like that, but it's just I know how to cope with it now. Like right now, I've been getting this season of like the last 4 or 5 weeks where like every day I have them. And from the moment I wake up until night.
Okay.
But the first time I was at the hospital, I began to gather information. I was like, this is it, man. This is it. That summer of that year, I moved to Milpitas and I started to do a lot of yoga, meditation. While I was at the hospital the first time, I remember they put me in a room where, while you come back, that's what they say, and there was a guard sitting, across the hall, guarding for me not to leave the room. And this person, and please excuse me if I'm not expressing this correctly, but he was a Hindu man. I don't know if it's correct to say it like that.
Okay.
But
what gave that away is did he talk to you about it?
Well, the thing that I'm saying, he was a Hindu, and while he was watching me, he kept telling me meditation. And I will walk by the door because I was at that moment, I had built my spirit so strong that every time I had a psychosis episode, I went into like this Jesus mode. I went into like everything I learned in the religion mode.
Like a crisis of faith.
Like really patient, peaceful, love. So I went into like that, and every time I would walk by the door, he will make eye contact with me. He will say meditation, yoga. He will tell me. Okay. And I will go like meditation, yoga. So I came out of the hospital, I got into meditation, yoga, and I began this journey of learning, I've been studying Hinduism, Buddhism. I have extensive knowledge on the Christian church and the Catholic church. I've been researching in the Muslim religion. I've been researching where I finally got into become a Gnostic student. And Gnosis, a Gnostic student is just somebody who studies Gnosis. Gnosis is just a word to describe knowledge, but not a knowledge that it can be taught in a book or in a seminar or in a conversation, but the type of knowledge that is embedded in our DNA, the type of knowledge that is embedded in the God particle of the universe. The studies of the origin of everything, and when you study Gnosis, you find that they peel the layers of all the dogmas of every religion or teachings of around the planet, of every culture, and they get the best out of everything, and they combine it, and they put Gnostic teachings. And that's the most amazing thing that I started to study. And I drowned myself in that during that year. So right about summertime, I was feeling like awesome in 2017. Then we're approaching again the end of the year of 2017. And there he goes again. Exactly the same things, which that also helped me to understand cycles, astrology and all that stuff, which I'll talk about some other time, why I'm understanding everything that is happening to me, in depth. So I started to study, and being introduced, a lot of the churches here, they teach you how to open the pineal gland and how do you, expand the pineal gland benefits, which includes supernatural powers, So I started to be really intrigued in all that. I started to get really interested in Chinese martial arts, and especially Kung Fu and Tai Chi, because their knowledge of the Chi, the Chi is
using
the energy.
Exactly.
And so see, everybody has something that can help you. So I'm able to sit here today thanks to all of the things that I'm talking about. Not one, all of them, including the bad and negative things, which I have to come to terms and love everything that happened to me. Love what it comes, because everything is going to help you eventually. So I went through another psychosis episode, but this time around, I was more understanding of what was going on. I was understanding now synchronicities, all kinds of stuff. that the second time it was not that traumatic because I was more under the understanding. As a matter of fact, by the time I was getting to the hospital, I was already fine, but I wanted to go find help. I wanted to go find the correct therapist. And again, I had an experience in there, again, that I did not found what I needed other than an amazing, amazing empathy and treatment from the nurses, most of them. There was only a couple of them, but most of them were amazing, and they will take time to sit down and listen to you, and they will tell me, sorry, we cannot offer you what you are needing because we don't know. A lot of them will tell me we really don't know. We're just following what they tell us or the training they give us. So that time, I mean, and I met the most beautiful and amazing people in there twice. The first time I was at the Fremont, I'm sorry I say Kaiser, but the Kaiser took me to Fremont. So I was in Fremont for about 4 days. And then I was in El Camino Real for about 4 days as well. The most amazing people in there. Just people that are going through things that they don't know how to go through. And there's just people in there that there's actually nothing wrong with their mind other than unresolved traumas.
Yeah.
So that's the second time I was looking. And now, at that time, I started gathering all the material that is there at the hospital, and I started reading. I'm like, I need to find, because, like I was saying earlier, PTSD is not a one illness. It's an illness with thousands of variations and thousands of cultures and thousands of people and thousands of languages. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. So you need to find the things that will help you, resolve your particular PTSD. So since I had a big ass bag, and I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say it.
Oh yeah,
I have a big ass bag. That all the things that I have to resolve, fix, take care of, and find the ingredients to manage my PTSD. And with the help of my psychologist right now, he said that definitely there's a path for me to completely eradicate it of my life. So when I was at the hospital the second time I came in the hospital, I started to read about behavioral cognitive therapy. And the background, and this lady, like I mentioned earlier, I believe in the East Coast. She's a doctor, obviously, and she put this program together. She figured out that patients with PTSD didn't need a general treatment. They didn't need a cookie cutter, just do everything inside this box, you'll be fine. Take that many pills a day, go
point A, point B, point C.
Which, by the way, I tried opioids too. If anybody's trying them and working for you, awesome. Didn't work for me. And actually, when I posted 2 years ago that I called the suicide hotline twice on that summer, and it was the side effects of the opiates. It was the side effects of the medicine that they gave me, because they told me weed is bad. This is good.
Because it's a prescription.
Because I'm telling you that it's good. I went to school these years. I spent all this money. And the people above me tell me that it's good. And then, some places they give me a little cut for giving you this. Yeah. And they told me, take the weed away, use this. I took them for about 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, I called the suicide hotline twice. And even though my bag is full of shit this big, I have never contemplated suicide in my life. I've never. Up until I was taking opiates. And then I said, okay, I got to stay away from that. So I got to fix all of this shit, but without a lot of the things that make me feel worse. So I study about the cognitive behavioral therapy, which in essence, she understood that you are a unique patient with PTSD.
Yeah.
And your uniqueness called for a unique treatment plan. Okay. And when they tell you what you need, it's when people like me start getting rejected from. Personally, I'm where anybody that tells me, well, you should and you must, I reject them immediately right now. I'm like, either nicely or unfortunately I gotta throw a little jab and stay away. This is my space. This is where I'm healing here. I'm understanding who I am in here. And when you're telling me you should and you must, all I remember is all the shoes and you must that I was told that never worked. And I could probably sit here a whole show just to tell you all the things that I was told you should and you must, and none of them worked. No one of them. And how I learned this, how I make a understanding of this, I also found a studio of meditation. I go to a non-Zen studio here in San Jose to study Zen meditation. And they're from right here in San Jose. It's called non-Zen meditation.
Non-Zen meditation.
And all they teach is Zen meditation, and they teach you the background, and they teach you in a way where they don't tell you you should or you must. I learned that Buddhist monks, they speak to you in parables because they don't want to tell you what to do. They understand karma. They understand interfering in somebody else's path. So instead of telling you, well, you should and you must, they always challenge you for you to spark on your own how to solve that particular problem that is your problem. So if you're going to a person and say, solve my problem, that's what we're failing. We need to take, well, I found out that I needed to take suggestions, no orders or directions. I needed to take suggestions. Like now my therapist, he doesn't tell me you must and you should. He tells me after today's session, I'm going to recommend you a book, and I'm going to recommend you this, like he recommended me the obesity code. An amazing, I'm chapter 2, the most amazing, book. And he gives me suggestions. And I say, okay, this is what I needed. And he's applying behavioral cognitive therapy. So he understands that my therapy, it's not what he thinks I should get. But as I speak with him and as I tell him what works and what doesn't work, all he does is give me some, obviously, things from his training, which, by the way, I don't know why he's not ultra famous, because I spoke, and he's in Mexico. I spoke with dozens of therapists here, psychologists, and I was going to say they should, but I recommend them to study my therapist, and talk to him, because he's helping me realize how to build my treatment by him utilizing my strengths, what has brought me up until here today. He's like, the first therapy was like this. He's like, you are already prepared today. You've been preparing yourself today for, well, he presented it like this. Put a thought. He's like, write these down. But he had already heard me saying, he said, say there's no way that anything like that happened to me in the past can happen to me today. And that's why he said, there is no way. You've been preparing all your life. You've been getting in the gym. You've been learning martial arts. You've been learning all kinds of things, not only to defend yourself, but to defend others. He's like, I don't think anybody will even father the thought, he won't even have an idea of thinking I'm molesting you sexually right now. He's like, I don't think is out there anybody that will say, I want to do it. He's like, so that it's impossible. They can happen right now because you are already well equipped to protect yourself. He's like, and not only to protect yourself, but to protect others. He's like, so you're already ready. You're being ready. He's like, all I'm doing is reminding you of what you've done to be here today, to be where you live, to be where you're at, the age that you are, everything. So he's just using my own strengths, reminding me which cognitive therapy, behavioral cognitive therapy, is just rewiring your childhood. It's all it is.
Getting inside your brain.
Rewiring your traumas.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They help you, and it works. Just 3 sessions, and I feel I'm able to sit here because 3 sessions ago, I was like the video, like this, I felt inside. Although you see me in the video like that, inside is this. All day long, like that. All it feels is like you're dying.
Yeah.
I can't explain it any other way, but you're dying.
Not to that extent, obviously, but when I went through a traumatic time in my life recently, I would describe it as most people go through a traumatic experience and it's like a wave hitting them every so often. And it comes on and you can't deal, and then it kind of goes away. And for me, I wasn't on the shore. I was in the ocean. It felt like somebody had just dropped me in, and there were waves that were hitting me, but I was constantly drowning. So sometimes I was drowning less than when the waves were hitting me and I was drowning more. And it took a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy and going to therapy to learn how to climb out of the water and get on the shore so the waves were hitting me before I could climb further upshore and the waves were no longer a problem.
But look how beautiful what you just said is you found your own prescription of your particular issue you were having.
Yeah.
In particular. But the problem is they're trying to give you prescriptions, everybody. All you should do is you should go to church. Oh, you started studying too much things. Now you're confused.
Yeah.
Oh, you should get out there and drink all night. Oh, you should go out there and go to the titty bar. You know, right there. I'm sorry to say that, but you know, that's the things I've been told.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, bro. I mean, like,
maybe that works for you.
I mean, you're trying to help me. Or like, you really don't know they're doing something like that. We'll add more to my bag because who I am, because how I am. I'm not that type of person. I'm going to use that for my medication now. All I'm doing is I'm taking some out to put 5, 10 more. You know.
Yeah.
Now you're on into your marital problems. Now you're on into, you know, relationship with your kids because they're going to be like, really? The titty bar is your therapy? So
you just wasted my college fund.
So he's just helping me figure out. And the reason why it seems with me like, oh, he's bipolar. One day he's good, one day he's bad. Terms that people don't understand. And I would just urge people, please don't label anybody with anything. Please don't tell anybody a label because you don't know. You know, you don't know what they're going through unless you're walking on their shoes one full day and you can handle it. If you can handle one day to live in the shoes of that person that you are labeling or criticizing, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
After you experience their life for one day, let's see if you continue going and saying, oh, Joe got it.
That old saying,
he didn't try.
Yeah, that old saying of walk a mile in somebody's shoes. Like my grandma once said, if you don't like somebody, walk a mile in their shoes. And if you still don't like them, you're a mile away from them anyway, so it doesn't matter. Exactly. Yeah, like.
Awesome, that was beautiful.
I always like my grandmother always had a fun spin on
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Yeah, it's. I get what you're saying about not telling people. First of all, not telling them what they must do, because even in our, I don't want to say a healthy, somebody who doesn't have trauma, we rebel against anybody who tells us what we have to do.
Well, one of my traumas is the authoritarian male figure, you know, a macho male figure. And my dad was, you know, and you should. And I grew up in neighborhoods, really rough neighborhoods in Mexico City. So, in his mind, he thought he was doing the right thing. You know, in his mind, he thought he was equipping me. And in a sense, he did. In a sense, he did, because after he passed away, I survived Mexico City. And I mean, by being the aggressive that he told me to be and how to be, and I navigated my way through Mexico City with no problems. You know, because So in a sense, it, has helped me. But when somebody right now tells me, oh, this is working for me, you should do it. For instance, I have a lot of friends that they're Christians, and obviously a lot of friends that are Catholics because in family, because that's how where I was born and within that environment.
And you studied for a long time.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very common for people like, hey, the church is working amazing for me. Come to church. And I'm like, well, if it's working for you and you're prescribing that for yourself, awesome. And that's what we fail. We think that what's going on in our experience, it should be applicable to everybody else. And it must be applicable to everybody else. And then they start writing books, and then they start putting up seminars, and then they start doing things. Buy my system and you'll be free. Everybody buys their systems and everybody fails on it. Why? Because you're buying his system. And you shouldn't be buying nobody's systems, or you don't buy nobody's systems. Create your own system. That's the key.
Find out what works for you.
On everything. Yeah. I'm talking about from your healing, business, relationships. Build your own, space with what works for you. And if it works for you, it doesn't mean it has to work for that person. Why? Maybe that person had a different support system than you did. Number one, per se. I can't sit here and tell you, well, David, you should be doing this, and that in your life.
Yeah.
I haven't gone through the situation that you went through ever. So how can I give you a prescription or tell you how to heal something that I have never gone through?
Yeah.
So, but I can share with you, you know what? This is some of the things I do to alleviate the depression and the stress. And after all, you can call me no judgment, no directions, no instructions. If you ever want to call me just to talk, I'm here. But here's, you should be doing this. I think you're doing wrong. I think you should go to church. Let them pray for you. Let them get those demons out of you, which, by the way, if something pisses me the hell off, it's people saying I have demons. So if you think that, keep it to yourself. That's really silly, though. By the way, you look real silly. But anyway, let's continue. I'm sorry, I had to throw a jab because that's a little annoying. I mean, I'm not wanting to become, just for people to think that I'm Mother Teresa and they can come and dump all their stuff. Because you can do whatever you want. I'm just gonna choose where I take it or not. But that's one of the problems that you should. So the authoritarian figure that I had. So anybody right now that tells me you should and you must, it's a traitor.
Well, the only person that should be telling you what you must and should do is yourself.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's where I went into this journey of, searching for myself, finding myself, finding my healing. And I posted something the other day and it said, I went into a search of God. And all I found is myself. And then I started to work with myself. And I realized that I was my own God that I was looking for. And knowing the God that I'm like God, like people say, oh, you can't say you're God. You know what I mean? So silly. I'm the God of my life. Obviously I'm not God creator. I can't, I create my reality, what's going in here, but I can't create everything else. We got God creators and all the stuff, which I'm still understanding, but in that journey, searching for God, I found myself. And by finding myself and building myself, I found God. And I was like, oh my God, we're both in the same, we're both one.
Yeah.
That's the problem. We always keep searching for him when he told the disciples, well, my kingdom is within you. Well, where is your kingdom, Christ? We want to go to it. And he was like, within you.
It's very interesting. We're talking about some issues that I most recently was talking about in a different circumstance of finding that inner peace within yourself, finding being happy with yourself.
Correct.
And I see a lot of problems with other people where they're not happy being alone by themselves. They always have to surround themselves with people.
Correct.
They're not happy. They're not, I should say, content with just being alive and being sober, being healthy. Just they always have to fill these holes in their lives. And you know, they're not, if you know, they're that's where jealousy and suspicion and anxiety, a lot of that comes from, is just overthinking things, and what's this person saying about me, and what's this person doing when they're not around me, or what does it say about me if I'm not surrounded by people constantly 24/7. And
it's just that we're taught, you know, to that the answers are out there. You know, we're taught, just read this book, will fix your life.
Yeah.
Oh no, read this other book, it will save your life. And then another religion or another movement, oh no, read ours, it's the ultimate, will save your life.
Yeah.
And they close you off in these box instead of everything serves you well. Theirs, and theirs. Like Paul would say, when I'm with the Romans, I'm a Roman. When I'm with the Greeks, I'm Greeks.
Yeah.
So when I go to my Zen meditation, I am in the environment of the Zen meditation, and I have a shifu that he's teaching me my meditation. He's my master in the meditations. See, I can't go in there and try to tell him what to do, or I'm going in there to learn. I'm going in there to, you know, receive from them something that is going to help me in my life, help me expand. And through that, you just mentioned being comfortable with yourself. It's really difficult when you have PTSD.
Oh yeah,
it's very difficult, you know, because I said you need people, you need connection. If anything, I've been disconnected for 3 years.
Yeah,
I stopped going to the places that I exercise and I do martial arts. I stopped completely socializing. My whole socializing right now just involve around work. My clients, amazing, beautiful people, you know, meeting here, and that's it in my home. Yeah. Why? Because all of these stigmas, all of these, you know, labels that people put. Just let me conclude, if it's okay, because during that, I'm still in the healing process, so my energy levels are, like I said, I've been about 5 to 6 weeks having panic attack episodes every day. I was already doing great, but I had a little accident about 5-6 weeks ago where I was working with trying to unscrew something, and it slipped, and the screwdriver went this far and messed up my hand. And from there, it triggered a panic attack. Where that's where I've been since the last 5-6 weeks since this happened. Every day, and then it goes like this, and then they go really strong, which by this time, the last 2 times, I did end up at the hospital. Which that's how I'm also telling you, I'm understanding in such a deep way synchronicity, cycles, like you know, these type of environment of people feeling depression and during these times more than months, and people feel sad these times more than other months, had to do with the cosmos, has to do with our planet, where our planet is located at this season. You know, has to do with the energies, influence energies of the other planets and all that stuff. But they teach you the astrology and numerology is, you know, demonic and is from the devil. And so you drift away from not studying those topics. They just help you understand your nature. Yeah. So now I know that every season, every year, right around this time, is gonna, you know, my anxiety and my depression and all that stuff increases. It happened. I'm aware of it happened about the same time 3 years ago.
It's called SAD, isn't it? Seasonal. It's like seasonal depression disorder.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. And it's gonna happen every year. But if you don't know that, next year you're gonna think there's something wrong with you again. because you're not understanding this.
Oh,
The
okay,
natural
yeah.
core of the planet is causing the energy of the planet to intensify. Therefore, it's hitting uncomfortable, all of a sudden during this season gets awakened.
Mhm.
It gets like, hey, I'm still here, you need to deal with it. But we're not realizing that. Why? Because we were told in the church that anybody that is, studies astrology, numerology, they're from the devil. They're serving Satan. And they, limit you on what you can use to help you with your treatment.
Mm.
So by finding all these things, is how I'm understanding, well, every season is going to come. So now I know until I eradicate everything, every season like this is going to come. And then from there, I've been studying karma and dharma. What's karma? What's dharma? Dharma is when karma is coming around. So everything that goes comes back, right?
Mm.
People think that all the time karma is just goes. I did this to you, and that's coming back to me. That's the concept that people have to, about karma.
Yeah.
And my understanding of karma now by studying is like, if anything goes that way, and then it comes this way, everything is cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now
people are in cycles.
So what vibration, beings, all of that stuff. So now I understand that there's a cycle coming. And when the cycle is coming, when I see it already, not because I'm understanding my life, now I see that it's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's coming back, it doesn't have to come back with pain anymore. That's what dharma is. Dharma is acknowledging when your karma, it gives you an opportunity, whether it be karma from this life or past lives, it gives you an opportunity to turn that situation into dharma, which is how or what is dharma? The benefit of that karma coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So people just see karma's coming back, and it's coming back to get me, man. Everybody has karma. Oh, man, it's coming to get me. Watch out, karma. Karma has become like the boogeyman, like in Spanish, like Coco, and like there's something that's gonna come and get you, man. Watch out.
Mm-hmm.
This karma's gonna come and boom, gonna mess you up.
Why do you think it's not more of a positive thing in people's minds? If like I did something good, so that's going to come back to me eventually.
I think it goes down to a lot of misinformation and a lot of stigmas and a lot of dogmas and a lot of don't do that, don't go with them, they're
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Oh, don't do that, they're Satanists. So by people telling all that, they limit you and some of the other beautiful things you can find in everything. At the end of the day, the Bible tells you all things work for the ones that believe in Him.
Mm-hmm.
All things, all of them, not just some. So now that I understand cycles, now when it comes back, I don't have to freak out again. Oh my God, here's coming. Brace yourself. There's the depression. There's the anxiety. Brace yourself. No, I don't do that no more. Now I see it. Okay, I know my body, temple,
Mm-hmm.
is going to still suffer the consequences of hundreds of unresolved traumas. It doesn't mean I have to suffer anymore. So now now that I understand cycle seasons, which is a season, I understand now the seasons cannot ever be modified or changed. You cannot have the summer before the spring.
Yeah.
It's spring, then summer. Whether you like it or I don't like it or anybody don't like it, it comes spring then summer.
Yeah.
I don't care what religion you are on this planet or what culture you come from. We all are working on this system.
Mm. Spring,
summer, fall, winter.
Yeah.
Nobody can modify it. We all are affected. That's gnosis. Understanding those type of things. That's gnosis. Knowing that the cycle is coming next year, that this intensity on the energy of planet is coming next year. I don't have to freak out now next year that I know this. Oh, okay. Okay, is the planet aligned? So what did I need to do? Oh, okay. Then I need to find out what's the things that I need to do during those times, during these times, Don't engage in that much confrontation per se. If there's any time where you're gonna do a lot of more self-love, self-care, is this time. This is the time when you need to take time for yourself. If you study some of the religions, they have like like a calendar, and it shows you an imagery of what's supposed to happen on each calendar.
Mhm.
If you look at the month 10th, and it's supposed to be the month of death, you're dying. That's what we're celebrating. Halloween, Dia de los Muertos. But people have said, oh, it's evil. That's when Satan comes out and he's people, and they butcher people. I know, kinds of nonsense. Which Dia de los Muertos is, in my culture in Mexico, is just an amazing, beautiful.
It's a celebration.
It's
right?
a beautiful celebration of not only the people that passed to the other life, they are our family members, loved ones, ancestors, but also that your life, this year it comes to already. This year, anything that you have this year, this is where you leave it. Leave it in October. Build up November, enjoy the fuck out of December, and then start January with your year. That's my cycle. I understand that that's the way it works. And because now I understand it, I don't have to feel like, again, this year is going to get me. And that's why I'm understanding cycles of karma and dharma. Now that I see things coming, I see them from way farther. You see, sometimes things appear to you real quick because you're not solving them. Boom, they appear real quick. Karma keeps coming back. And as you start taking action, it starts, getting a little like this kind of movement, like this kind of cycle.
Yeah.
So you start noticing, okay, you start understanding, so now you don't freak out. So now
So
the
you have that
cycle,
self-awareness.
regular self-awareness, now starts regulating. So now when you see it coming, I got you. Now you're not gonna kick my ass this year because now I know the planets are aligning. The full moons enhance the energy. That's when in full moons I feel like I'm dropping unconscious because I don't know what's happening. Just the cleaning of myself has allowed more room of the good to come in other words.
Gotcha. Okay.
So as I keep purging myself of the bad, I'm creating space in me for good. And the more space I'm getting for good, the more sensitive I'm to any type of energy, including electronics, which I'm
sorry. There's a lot in this room right now.
No. This is what this is for.
Oh, okay. What is the
Coach Giovanni referred me to somebody.
Okay.
When he saw my video, and one of his friends, good friends, Carrie, and she, when I got there with her, she had this, and she gave me a book to understand, and she explained this stone. Actually, there's two types of energies: the energy that Mother Earth creates, Mother Gaia, and then the energy that man creates by means of electronics.
Okay.
This energy is charged with a different type of energy, the energy that comes from Mother Earth. That's how I understood it. This stone switches that energy, filters it, and switches it into the energy that Mother Earth sends. So pretty much is like is a cosmic filter.
Okay.
If you would say. And this is how we don't know how to use the stones and rocks of our planet. If anybody has knowledge of the planet, are the stones. Think of the stones of a hard drive. They contain in there all the information, not only of this planet, but of the cosmos. But they contain every information of this planet. The rocks have every information that has ever happened here. And a lot of cultures around the planet, they have these little bags, especially shamans from like Peru and Ecuador. I don't remember the name of the little things that they pack inside rocks. And they believe that you don't choose the rock chooses you. And they became their advisors. You see, people think that they're praying to demons and devils and asking, I don't know who. They're actually going to the data that is embedded in the rocks. They're asking the data and the rocks for guidance. And that's all it is. So this is why people don't understand how things like this work. So this particular stone in particular, people that study this, healers and all that stuff, they have found out, and there's a whole book that I haven't had a chance to read it because that's one of my side effects of PTSD. I have very few books that I have ever been able to complete
Mhm.
because of, I also have, attention deficit because of all the PTSD.
Mhm.
I was never able to get good grades because I was never able to focus. But if you will give me a project, I had like an A plus 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 all the time. I will go all out.
Mhm.
But when it was a time for me that anything on reading, I had a hard time.
Mhm.
Or English.
Mhm.
I couldn't pass my English class for nothing in high school. So now that all of these things I'm putting together, and I understand the cycles when they come. Now I know that it's not coming to hurt me. It's coming to elevate me to a better place for the next year.
Mhm.
That's how I'm understanding all this now. And the PTSD, topic is extremely important. It's extremely important that if you have a loved one, that has PTSD, allow them. Just allow them. Don't tell them you shouldn't, you must. If you want to help them, just allow them to speak to you, and then spit probably ideas and suggestions. But be mindful that they are seeking their healing. And that's the path of a healer. The path, or in some cultures they call them shamans.
Mhm.
In some cultures they call them babalos.
Yeah.
In Santeria, that they have different names for them. But at the end of the day, it's a healer. It found how to heal itself.
Mhm.
And then I'm just wanting to, through my life, through my experiences, I want to inspire people.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't want to tell people what to do. I don't want them to take all of my things that I do and that I say at heart, like he said he must, because then
Give me the checklist, Carlos,
then
so
I
I can
will-
get better.
I will become just like the people that grab that book that's supposed to heal you and they slap you with
Mhm.
that, then I will become that. I just hope and pray that through my experiences, by me opening myself and something very personal, because life cracked me open completely.
Mhm.
I don't think that I can be cracked open anymore. But only until then, by allow these moments of vulnerability to go and flow, I was able to actually get the other pieces.
Yeah.
Because not only through Coach Giovanni that led me to somebody, my friend contact me, and video, you contact me and offer me to go to a group that I still yet need to go, because again, I develop a social anxiety and social stress
That's
because
understandable.
I got really self-conscious of my hands sweating all the time,
Mhm.
my feet sweating all the time, be a little jerky, I got really self-conscious. So I secluded myself, and so people started reaching out. So by me cracking myself open, completely open and exposed and vulnerable, because I'm vulnerable, Davey. There's here people looking at me, and I know because I know they either have told somebody or they have told me directly that either I'm not Christian enough, uh,
Mhm.
I'm not praying enough, or I'm a drug addict. So I'm in a very vulnerable place. That if I'm not getting away from these people, I could probably no go back, because one thing I tell you, I will never go back to suffering the way I was. For me now, it's just from here up. But I exposed myself.
Mhm.
And it's so beautiful to see that by me cracking myself open, I was able to be a help for somebody's validation. A lot of people felt validated by my story and by me posting in social media.
You opened up and then
And
allowed
they've been
them to
reaching out to me, share their personal experiences with me. I'm very open about the Me Too movement, and I believe you for the same reason.
I was just gonna say that
And
happened with the Me Too movement.
exactly.
One or two people started coming, then it was
Exactly.
more people, and
Exactly.
as soon as one voice
And
raises
I've
up.
been approached by females and men, that, hey man, things happen to me too. Hey man, my wife thinks I'm faking my PTSD, man. Hey man, my brother had it and I treated him so bad and I feel so wrong right now for doing that. From like, you know, so a lot of people is being, you know, touched by this. And I'm very grateful with life, with my God creator and my mother earth for giving me the strength to allow myself to be completely cracked open and vulnerable and still go with that, not knowing where was this going to go. And I'm so glad I did, because then once I cracked it open, there was no other choice but to start piecing it back together. But now I'm in control, yes, of my own choice of selecting the pieces to put me back together. There's some pieces that I don't want to be put in here, like the religious dogma. Like, I don't believe in Christ and God the way that people believe and perceive it. I believe it in a different way. I believe in a God creator and Jesus the avatar, that he gives me the examples of being like him and even greater things he said. So it's not, I'm not saying I'm Jesus. I could never be him, you know, but I can be my own self by taking Jesus' example, by taking Buddha Shakyamuni's example, you know, by taking Dr. Wayne Dyer's example, you know, by taking Deepak Chopra's example, by taking the Dalai Lama's example, by taking Mother Teresa's example, by taking the Apostle Paul's example. And it's just not like I want to adopt their identities, but I want to, you know, be inspired of some of the things they did and see past their human and see what the whole thing they were and what they had to share and contribute in my life. And I'm just on a beautiful journey thanks to this. Now I'm putting myself back together. Since this thing happened, a lot of series of events are unraveling very fast.
Yeah.
Because I put a lot of stuff really fast. I've always been in a journey in my life of looking for guidance. So I put a whole lot of information in me that now it's all serving me well, and it's helping me to move really fast.
Nice.
And now I'm just waiting for my body temple to recuperate, gain some strength. For 3 years, I've not been able to do bodybuilding because my muscles, since I'm in a constant panic attack mode, is like if I'm working out.
Yeah.
So it's like if from the moment I work out, from the moment I wake up till I go to bed, I'm working out. So I'm working out all day long because of what's going on. My nervous system is shot. My glands that sit, all my glands operating system that sits under my brain, that's where all the commotion is going. The gland that regulates my temperature, the glands that regulates my equilibrium, the gland, the pineal gland. So all of these things are going on me right now that I need to take proper care of my body temple. And I think that pretty soon I'm going to be, you know, if not 100%, really close to 100%.
Yeah.
So thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the tense that when I was going through my stressful time, people were saying, "You look really good. You look like you're working out all the time." And I hadn't been doing any workouts.
Yeah.
And my therapist pointed out that, like, I would sit in a chair on a nice comfortable sofa and I would be tense and I would just be flexing, almost as if my body and my brain and my spirit were all in the same, like, you got to tense up because you're in a fight and you're going to get hit. And so I would just sit there and I would go to sleep and I would just be laying there tense. And I caught wind of myself in a mirror once and I was like, wow, I do look really good. I do look like I'm flexing all the time, which is great if you're not stressed. But if you're doing it because you're stressed, then
it comes exhaustion. So at this point, I've been bottling for the last 6 weeks every day, and fit in, work, family responsibilities, and this and that, and it's just it gets really difficult.
Yeah.
But this is the time right now where I'm understanding my cycles. I'm getting secluded. I'm going to go to Mexico and get a lot of treatment down there pretty soon. So, and the path of getting better.
There's a term. I'll share a bit of my truth with you, and if it resonates with you, good. I learned about this term when I was studying affairs and the philosophy behind it and the mentality, and it's called post-traumatic growth. Okay. And so you have your post-traumatic stress, and that tears you down and that breaks you down, because that's what stress does. You think about working out a muscle. It's not the workout that makes the muscle bigger, it's the stress and the ripping apart and then the healing that happens. And the post-traumatic growth is that healing of essentially like your muscle, your whole body, your psyche, your spirit. And so we know from everything in life, you don't grow unless there's pain, right? Working out, you get the pain of the muscle, it grows so it doesn't feel that pain anymore, and you can do it again. Knowledge, kids complain about headaches in college because they're constantly throwing information in their brain and it hurts, but then they're smarter afterwards, right? And so in the same sense of the emotional, you have this traumatic event and it just rips you apart, but you can stay down there and kind of suffer from it, or like it sounds like you're doing, you grow from it and you take that pain and you channel it upwards and you just grow, and you deal with all that down there, and then you're a much more elevated person.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so that's really, I talked about how I was tense, and I started studying that, and I started going to therapy, and there was one day where I realized I was sitting probably on this sofa, because this is a comfortable sofa, and I was just relaxed, and I thought it felt like, that first breath you take after a long workout, and you're just and you feel so much better, and the stress starts to melt away and the pain starts to melt away. You get that moment of clarity where you can say, okay, I've had this traumatic experience, now it's time to go up. Yeah.
That's exactly my personal understanding of karma and dharma. I see you coming now, I'm going to use you to grow, not to go down.
Yeah, it's like that moment in a fight. When you first start sparring, like anybody you go up against, you're really scared. You see them walking towards you with the gloves, and even if they're your friend, and you kind of get scared. And the first few punches, they really tense you up, right? But then you keep sparring, and a year later, you're okay. You're ready for that fight. You get hit in the head, and you just kind of laugh it off. Or you understand what emotions are coming up, and as they come up you start dealing. I'm scared. Well, I don't need to be scared because I can take a hit to the head, or I don't need to be scared because I know I have this training. And so it's really
everything you put in there regarding sparring. Maybe at the moment you think, oh, I got my ass kicked, but your brain is recording what happened. So next time you can spar, now you're ready. You see, it's not going to be the same shock. It's not going to be the same because you're learning, you're having the experience. Now you see it coming, and it gives you the opportunity, you said, to grow. Either go down, now I'm not going to do sparring ever again. I suck. They just kick my ass, toss me around, now. Or you can go back, man, that's like the philosophy of Kung Fu. I watched a lot of Kung Fu movies, and I'm fascinated by them. And back in the day with Bruce Lee, when he was, his master.
I was just watching Bruce Lee's this morning.
And when his master, I forgot the name of his master. Donnie Yen plays his master on Ip Man. Ip Man. So I watched the Ip Man movies, and they're fascinating. And masters of Kung Fu, they challenge each other in a friendly match. They spar, but with the purpose of testing their skills and learn from each other. Learn from this. They test their skills, learn from the experience, and then they, with a lot of reverence and honor, they ask each other to teach each other's moves. And you can take it that way, or you can take it like I got my butt and beat up and go away. And these opportunity to grow every time something like that happens.
You learn a lot about yourself every time you get in the ring. And the first time I sparred at ASD, the crop place that we met, I got knocked out. I got knocked out by a kick.
Oh, shit.
And it turned me away from sparring and the sparring class for a couple of months. I would make excuses, or I would like get out really fast before sparring class started. And one of the instructors took me aside and said, you know, why aren't you coming to sparring? Like, that's the next level of your training, is you got to learn how to spar. Take all this stuff that you've been using in the standalone class and now implement it for a real life test. And I said, well, to be honest, I'm kind of scared of getting knocked out again. And he said, well, don't get knocked out again. You've already been knocked out, so you can only improve from there, right? And so, it was, in a way, it was kind of a blessing because I got knocked out. So the next class, if my goal was just don't get knocked out again, I could only improve. And then
their life experiences.
Oh yeah.
I mean, their life experience, but then sometimes, we don't want to keep insisting on something because we're scared, of that. But like you said, that gives you an opportunity. It's a blessing. Why? Because it gives you an opportunity what you're capable of too.
Yeah.
You challenge yourself. You're like, a lot of people are like, no, I can do better. Like, everybody's judging a boxer from home and an MMA fighter. Everybody is the best coach. Oh, I would do that. I would do that, especially if you do crap. Once you're there sparring, it's not quite that easy.
I heard that a lot with the latest Conor McGregor fight.
Yeah. I could have done better.
Oh,
if you could have, you would have been there, not him.
Conor McGregor doesn't have a six-pack. He has a 24-pack, okay?
Exactly.
Let's see you do 10 sit-ups. Go. Okay, tell me again how you would have been in the ring. Because he was, and people, they seem so tired and it's only been 2 minutes. You've ever been in a 2-minute long fight?
See, Conor McGregor, the being he is, this is not going to put him down.
Yeah.
He's going to come back up a better being, a better person, like all his challenges he's been having, whether he chooses them, he creates them, whatever. He has challenges. He's testing himself out and see how far he can go. He's experiencing that, and I think he's going to come up from this.
And like you were saying with the Kung Fu Masters is you have to, I know a lot of people that don't understand boxing. And it's taking your skills. It's the same with football or anything else. It's taking your skills and putting them in a test. Now, if you don't ever test those skills, you're never going to know exactly how, what was it? One of the instructors at ASD once said, everybody's a world-class fighter when they're fighting a bag. It has no arms. It doesn't hit back. You can go as soft or hard as you want. You can stop and breathe whenever you want. You can't do that in a fight. And a lot of people, their first sparring class, they step in the ring like they're going to be the best. They're Muhammad Ali. They've been training for 2 years against this bag, and they know they can hurt it real well. And all of a sudden, the bag hits you back, and the bag keeps hitting you, and the bag moves out of the way of your punches. And, like, you see that moment in their brains. I know I had it where I went, I'm not as good as I thought I was. Now, I got better, but yeah.
And like I said, and I was a parent that I was trying to avoid my kids to go through situations of life. I'm going to apply that analogy that we're talking about on the MMA. I did apply that. I sheltered them too much, and I didn't want them to go through any challenges. Yeah. Because I didn't want them to, go through the things that I went through. But I needed to understand that those things happened to me in another time, in another place, long time ago. Yeah. And we trained that. Well, I was contributing, like, if something goes wrong, just, quit it or don't go there or don't even go wrong. So we need to allow also things to, in our experience, to happen, no matter how it goes, and like I'm not talking about something bad. Obviously nobody wants things bad to happen in their life, but I'm talking about particular like that, like the sparring. If you had a bad experience, with go to another place, and or go back to the same place and keep trying, keep challenging yourself, and then like you said, you're gonna learn that every time you go, you're gonna be like, oh, it's a lot easier now. Now it's a lot easier now. Oh man, now I can do some things, and you're gonna find yourself how awesome you are, all the skills you put in yourself, and you're gonna say like, oh, I didn't know it was these good. Yeah. And it's gonna get exciting. Or like you said, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna go away. It was a bad experience. I got knocked out. Forget it.
Yeah, and that's where I was. I got knocked out, and I thought, never going back. These guys fight way too hard. There's a steep learning curve and all the excuses. And then I went back, and I got better incrementally. And then occasionally the instructor would come by, and Ev, I had a private lesson with him. And we were sparring, and he went, you want to know why I keep hitting you in the head? And I went, no, why? Tell me, because everybody always hits me in the head. And he says, because you stick it out there like it's a sore thumb. And I would box like this, and I would move my body, and my head would stay right where it was. Yeah. He's like, move your head occasionally. It'd be harder to hit. Yeah. And the second I started doing that, my sparring game shot up. And so it comes back to, the emotional state. Yeah. You try and you do the best you can. And then occasionally maybe somebody comes in and says, hey, why don't you try doing this instead, or this little tweak, and then you get elevated, and then from there more and more and more until you can recognize it within yourself. I see this bad pattern coming back around, and this time it's not going to hit me as hard. And so and now I know if I went up against the same guy that knocked me out, well, I mean, he's a San Jose Police Department built like a house. So he would definitely, but he wouldn't knock me out again. Or at least he wouldn't knock me out the same way he did.
And even if you go against him and he knocks you out 10 times, every time you'll learn. And I guarantee you'll probably last longer.
Well, if he knocks me out 10 times, I'm going to be in the hospital. He knocked me out for a good long time. I woke up to somebody literally doing that. How many fingers am I holding up? What happened? Yeah. So it's good to hear. Post-traumatic growth is something I always come back to myself.
Awesome.
I want to thank you, sir, for being on and being incredibly open and honest, incredibly vulnerable. It's really refreshing to see somebody who's gone through what you've gone through and is going through what you are going through, and still being open and honest. And like I said, when you posted that video, that it's beautiful that I mean, I didn't know that any of this about you until you posted that video, and to have you open up in such a way was just, I shed a tear, and I was like, this is amazing. I have to have this guy on. We have to talk about this. I want to get this out. I wanted to share your video and tell my friends, like, watch this, spread the word, like it's okay, do away with the stigma, as you were talking about.
Exactly. Well, thank you for inviting me. And again, I want to thank the people that reach out, the people that have come in my path right now. I'm meeting beautiful people, awesome people that are helping me, and thank you for reaching out. And we're going to be in touch, because I'm planning to also attend the group meetings that you invited me as a part of me integrating myself again and feeling comfortable, to have friends. I've always been a person by myself always, and I do things in myself, and I think it's time for me to have some friends. So thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sorry about that.